All right, welcome back. It's been a minute, I know, but let's not waste any time. This channel has gone through a lot of different phases over the years, and honestly, it's still figuring out exactly what it wants to be. That's part of the fun, though. We're evolving, experimenting with new formats, and taking a much deeper dive into ideas than we've ever attempted before. And today's video is a perfect example of that shift. Going forward, you can expect bigger swings, more ambitious concepts, and a lot less playing it safe. I've had a growing list of ideas sitting in the back of my mind for far too long, and it's finally time to get them out of my head and onto the screen. And before we jump in, one quick thing. Make sure you stick around through the credits. If you've been following this channel since the early days, there's a little surprise waiting for you at the end. Nothing huge, just a small thank you for sticking with me through all the changes. With that said, let's get into it. All right, here's the hypothesis for this whole video. What if I had written the Star Wars sequel trilogy? Before we get into it though, I need you to do one thing. Suspend your disbelief for a moment and rewind your mind back to a time before the first teaser for The Force Awakens ever dropped. Imagine you know nothing about Disney's sequel trilogy. The slate is completely clean. Now, let's establish the canon, because this is important. In my version, the only stories that remain are George Lucas's original 6 films, The Clone Wars, and all of the Old Republic stories I've previously pitched. That's it. Everything else, every piece of Disney canon, and the entire expanded universe is wiped away, leaving a blank canvas to rebuild the future of Star Wars from the ground up. And here's the creative decision that makes this trilogy possible without simply handing the story off to a new generation. I would recast younger flashback versions of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Leia Organa. By using younger actors for key moments throughout the trilogy, we can explore the years between Return of the Jedi and Episode VII in ways that deepen the characters, expand the story, and allow the original heroes to remain at the heart of this saga. So with that established, let's dive into how my sequel trilogy begins. Our story picks up roughly 20 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. The Empire has fallen, but peace hasn't come easily. The New Republic is still fragile, struggling to unite a galaxy that spent generations under Imperial rule. At the center of that effort is Leia Organa, now one of the Republic's most influential senators, tirelessly working to hold together a democracy that could collapse at any moment. Han Solo hasn't settled into politics. Instead, he's become one of the Republic's most respected military commanders, leading campaigns across the Outer Rim to eliminate the last remnants of Imperial influence and restore order to lawless sectors. Together, Han and Leia have twin sons. Arden Solo is calm, thoughtful, and deeply connected to the Force, making him one of Luke Skywalker's most promising Jedi apprentices. His brother Kai Solo never develops Force abilities, but more than makes up for it with his natural talent as a pilot, military strategist, and battlefield commander, eventually following in his father's footsteps. Meanwhile, Luke Skywalker has fulfilled the promise he made at the end of Return of the Jedi. He has rebuilt the Jedi Order from the ground up, not as the rigid institution of the Old Republic, but as something wiser, more balanced, and better prepared to avoid the mistakes of the past. Standing beside him is Mara Jade, once the Emperor's hand, now a respected Jedi Master who still carries the emotional scars of the life she left behind. Together, they've raised 3 children. Their eldest son, Valen Skywalker, possesses extraordinary strength in the Force and the charisma to inspire others, but those same gifts make him vulnerable to temptation. His younger brother, Joran, is a gifted scholar with an unmatched understanding of Jedi history and ancient Force traditions, while their youngest daughter, Lyra, has a rare connection to all living things, displaying remarkable empathy and intuition from an early age. Episode VII, The Rise of the Skywalkers, begins with the Republic enjoying its first true era of peace, even if that peace remains fragile. Leia continues fighting political battles inside the Senate, while Han oversees military operations throughout the Outer Rim. Arden begins his Jedi training under Luke, while Kai serves alongside Han as one of the Republic's rising tactical minds. Luke and Mara oversee a small but growing Jedi Academy, where Valen's incredible potential quickly becomes impossible to ignore. Far beyond the Republic's borders, however, an old enemy has been quietly rebuilding his power. Darth Maul, long believed to be little more than a forgotten relic of the Clone Wars, emerges from the shadows after years spent rebuilding Crimson Dawn into the single most powerful criminal empire in the galaxy. At his side stands Darth Talon, his devoted Sith apprentice, who becomes the public face of Maul's growing movement while he operates from the darkness. Across Mandalore, clans fractured by decades of war begin rallying behind him once again. Maul no longer seeks to become a Sith Lord. He has reinvented himself as something entirely different, the Red Mandalore, a warlord determined to unite the Mandalorians beneath his banner and reshape the galaxy through strength alone. Throughout the film, Luke experiences disturbing flashbacks to his first encounter with Maul years earlier during one of his expeditions searching for forgotten Jedi knowledge. On a remote world, Luke confronted the scarred former Sith, who spoke not with madness but with absolute conviction. Maul tells Luke that the Republic's greatest mistake was allowing him to live, and bitterly reflects on his failure on Tatooine decades earlier. If he had killed the young boy named Anakin Skywalker, he believes none of the suffering that followed would have ever happened. Those words continue haunting Luke as reports begin arriving that Maul's crimson symbol is appearing across Outer Rim worlds. The film ends with Maul finally revealing himself to the galaxy. Standing before thousands of Mandalorian warriors, he casts aside his past as Darth Maul and declares himself the Red Mandalore, calling upon every warrior willing to reject the Republic and reclaim the galaxy through conquest and strength. Episode VIII, Shadow of the Syndicate, opens with the galaxy descending into open war. Maul's forces seize ancient Mandalorian strongholds while Crimson Dawn infiltrates the Republic from within. Senators are bribed, governments are manipulated, and vital hyperspace trade routes collapse beneath relentless Syndicate attacks, pushing the New Republic toward political and economic disaster. As the conflict grows, Darth Talon becomes increasingly fascinated by Valen Skywalker. During several encounters, she recognizes not only his immense power, but also the growing frustration he feels toward Luke's cautious interpretation of Jedi philosophy. She begins planting seeds of doubt, arguing that strength requires decisive action rather than endless restraint. Eventually, she leads Valen beneath Mandalore into an ancient Sith vault filled with relics saturated by the dark side. There, she reveals Maul's true philosophy. Survival belongs only to those willing to seize power without hesitation. When Luke finally confronts Talon, Valen makes a decision that changes everything. Rather than allowing Talon to fall, he saves her, turning against his father and abandoning the Jedi Order. Throughout the film, Luke's flashbacks continue, revealing even more of his conversations with Maul. In one particularly chilling exchange, Maul tells Luke that Anakin Skywalker was never a tragic hero in his eyes, but a stolen opportunity. He bitterly admits that he should have killed the boy before Darth Sidious ever found the apprentice who would become Darth Vader, believing history itself could have been rewritten. By the end of Episode VIII, Maul unveils his greatest weapon, an ancient hyperspace disruptor powered by forgotten Sith technology capable of destabilizing travel across the galaxy. Entire sectors become isolated almost overnight. Han Solo is captured during the Republic's desperate counteroffensive, and Valen fully embraces his role as Maul's newest enforcer, standing beside Darth Talon as one of the greatest threats the Jedi have ever faced. Episode IX, The Red Requiem, begins with a galaxy on the brink of collapse. Leia desperately assembles an alliance between the New Republic and Mandalorian clans who refuse to follow Maul's vision. Arden and Kai Solo fight on different fronts of the same war, one leading Jedi into battle while the other orchestrates military campaigns across the galaxy. Mara Jade refuses to abandon hope that her son can still be saved, even as Luke prepares himself for the possibility that redemption may no longer be possible. As Maul's endgame unfolds, Luke finally uncovers the truth behind his enemy's ambitions. Maul never wanted to rule the galaxy as Emperor. His goal has always been far more terrifying. By destroying the major hyperspace routes that bind civilization together, he intends to fracture the Republic into thousands of isolated systems where only the strongest governments and warriors can survive. It is not conquest he seeks, but perpetual conflict, a galaxy forged through endless struggle. At the same time, Darth Talon begins questioning the path she has devoted her life to. Watching Valen descend further into darkness forces her to confront the consequences of Maul's teachings. During the final siege of Mandalore, she orders Valen to strike down Luke once and for all. As he raises his blade, memories of his childhood, his parents, and his years of Jedi training overwhelm him. Unable to complete the act, Valen turns against Talon instead. She survives the battle but abandons Maul and disappears into exile, leaving Mandalore behind forever. The story reaches its climax inside the shattered throne room of Mandalore, where Luke Skywalker and Darth Maul face each other one final time. Maul unleashes decades of hatred, blaming the Skywalker bloodline for corrupting the destiny he believes was meant to belong to him. Luke answers not with anger, but with the calm confidence of a Jedi master who has finally achieved complete balance. As the duel reaches its peak, Valen joins the fight, standing beside his father instead of against him. Together they defeat Maul, ending the greatest threat the New Republic has ever faced. Whether Maul truly dies or simply vanishes back into the shadows remains uncertain, preserving the myth that has always surrounded him. Valen returns to the Jedi Order, humbled by his mistakes, forever carrying the scars of his fall but determined to rebuild what he helped destroy. Leia strengthens the Republic through sweeping reforms designed to prevent another galactic collapse. Han returns home after rescuing the remaining prisoners of war, finally reunited with his family. Luke and Mara continue rebuilding the Jedi Order, not as guardians of an old tradition, but as leaders of a wiser generation prepared to guide the galaxy into a new era. And that's where I'd leave my version of the sequel trilogy. Whether you loved every idea, hated half of them, or have your own vision for what these movies should have been, I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. At the end of the day, that's what makes Star Wars so special. Everyone has their own story they wish had been told. Before I go, I want to take a minute to say thank you. If you've been watching this channel since 2018, you've seen every version of it. You've seen the highs, the long breaks, the experiments, the videos that worked, and the ones that definitely didn't. Through all of it, you kept coming back, and I don't think I've ever properly said how much I appreciate that. In a lot of ways, this video marks the end of an era. The channel that started back in 2018 helped me learn, create, and connect with people who share the same passion for storytelling that I do. But it reaches a point where it has to evolve. It has to evolve, and I think we've finally reached that point. This isn't goodbye. Far from it. It's a new beginning. From here on out, I want to make bigger videos, tell better stories, and create the kind of content I've always wanted to make. If you've been here since the beginning, I hope you'll stick around for what's next, because I genuinely believe the best is still ahead. Thank you for every view, every comment, every like, every criticism, and every bit of support over the past 8 years. It has meant more than you probably realize. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never